my personal development journey kind of started and now became more intentional during this period, because now also the people I was associating with or the environment I was in was actually with people who have this in mind and people who are taking this as a priority.
Yeah.
And I saw that it would really bring something like a very strong difference. And this was the same also in my was the same also in my spiritual life while in Kenya. I also was a part of a group, like let's say a Bible study group, and just the constant reminder of people who you're sharing the same faith with and the same environment would keep you slowly by slowly have the urge to keep learning more in that sphere. So
Before we dive into this conversation, we would like to take a moment to express our gratitude to our sincere listeners and viewers for making this show what it is. Your support means the world to us.
in today's episode, we are going to have a conversation about intellectual development. I know like this might be a journey most of our viewers, you are in. And I would like to invite you to just join into the conversation. And we will start with just how our journeys have evolved over the years. And I think we can just start with you, Eda. Like just try and give us a snippet of what intellectual development has been for you, like let's say over the years up until now, and how different is it right now? Yes.
So to begin with, how I view intellectual development is it's a sum of so many things, as long as it is getting into my mind.
Wow.
So it begins from what I read, what I listen to, what conversations I have with people. They get into my mind. So that is why it is intellectual.
Yes.
That is how I view it in my mind. So as long as it is getting into my mind, then it is something intellectual. But now when it comes to really things that actually develop me,
Yes.
well, that is where the intellectual development comes in. Is I have viewed it as whatever that we've been taught in school, now meaning the normal education, and then reading books, be it self-help books, be it fiction books, whatever that you
works for you.
Whatever that works for you. But for me, before I can say being in school, being in school, but right now being in school,
yes.
There is the aspect of just getting the education based on whatever our lecturers, our teachers have taught us.
Yes.
That was just like a normal programming for us.
Yes.
It is normal programming for us. But now for me to help myself, to be able to build myself intellectually, before I was reading books, but not super intentionally. I was listening to podcasts, but not intentionally as well. And before I used to read books, listen to podcasts on things that used to make me happy, or things that I only embody, things that I would like to embody, which is what most people do.
Yes.
And so I felt like it got to a point where I was missing out on other things that were important either way in our growth up, in our growth as well. So right now I'm at a place where even if because before what I used to listen to are mostly matters about wellness. And in terms of wellness, finances, physical health, spiritual well-being, mental well-being, like such matters are what I used to listen and put my effort into. But right now I'm trying to have this other mindset where I need to grow myself as well in other matters, be it political matters. Yes, so that when I'm in a room, I'm not in a room where I cannot be able to have a conversation because now I'm into only
just
wellness.
Something that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so I think that is how my intellectual development has evolved over time. And I think being able to embody these other aspects of me is helping me, because you get someone that is not actually into wellness.
Yes.
And even if you want to tell them about wellness, despite wellness being part of their lives,
Yeah.
you can still have a different
Conversation and drive
aside.
your points home.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
I think
Which is-
for me, it's also more or less the same.
Mhm.
Initially, I wasn't doing it intentionally. And just as you said, for me, I also just consider intellectual development is definitely just something, anything that would involve me learning. It doesn't have to be in school, it can be out of school, or sometimes even through videos or interactions with people. You like anything that will make me learn, however small it is. That is intellectual development for me. And over the years, I've also seen my mindset or perspective has changed, because like while in school, before getting to campus, it was basic focus was on schoolwork, whatever you're being taught in school.
Yes.
If you're going to revise, you can't read any other thing or try to look at any other of your creative bits. Maybe you're good in interior design or fashion or something. It wasn't it didn't look right to look into all the other aspects. If you are revising, you just have to revise maths, English,
Focus
science,
on
like whatever
yes.
you're being taught in school. And over the years, I realized like it's not only what we're being taught in school that makes us a whole. As you said, over the years, you've now decided to start learning about other things that make us whole, maybe politics, relationships, just understanding the environment we live in as human beings. I think for me, I've also grown to that level right now, because initially I would do that and you would find me like, we would be told study or right now there was this lecturer in campus. She would really try and encourage us, like right now, don't focus so much on reading those novels. Like try and yes, read them, but also try and read inspirational books. And then you're like, you're just going to take that book and do it because seems like everyone else is doing it.
Yeah.
You want to seem like busy, you want to seem like you're actually
You're also
doing something,
fear
but
of missing out.
that's what I even wanted to say after. Just it's like you've read my mind. Like there's just that fear of missing out, and you're just not doing it because it's something you want to do or you're being intentional with. And I think that has changed over the years, because I would even get into a book club and then I'm like, I've never even read any book or been in any discussion for years later. And then right now I'm like, I'm not even being pushed to read that book. I'm actually the one who wants to read that book, which was totally different from that time growing up. So I feel like that is how it has evolved. And also just being open now to listening, especially if it's podcast. Now I'm listening to things that evolve or try to just improve my mind, things to do with health, things to do with spiritual, my spiritual connection with God, and let's say wellness, finance, like I just look at the aspects in my life that need some boosting and just try to ensure that I'm actually molding or learning, and that would be intellectual development for me.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think it was yesterday or the day before yesterday. I was listening to somebody, and he was saying that most millionaires
Yes.
have proven to say that
Mhm.
they have stopped reading fiction books, and they are now moving to reading self-help books. I think we all know what self-help books are. Self-help books are, they are books to just help you in your wellness, in your personal growth,
Yes.
just from the world self, and then help.
Yeah.
So you are helping yourself
Yourself.
as an individual, and definitely if you are helping yourself as an individual, then it has to be matters about wellness and personal development. So the lady was saying that like she was talking to a millionaire
Yes.
in a room, and the millionaire was saying that, and even not speaking to one person, like different
people.
Yeah, they were saying that they have over time moved into self-help books, than fiction.
Than
Not to say
fiction.
that fiction is bad, but fiction also, there is some creativity that it
Yeah.
creates in you.
And then just slowly, just as you're on that point, you would find like there's some people who would not probably understand something written, like okay, they would understand something written but not the serious written. There's that person who'd actually
Yes.
gain meaning from a comic book and learn more from it. Let's say there's a self-development book that's talking about you being resilient and the likes. There's that person, let's say me and you, who can read that book and actually pick tips. But there's that person who can watch literally just a normal movie, but interpret it in a way that shows resilience and try to embody that character, and that still works for them. Just
agree.
wanted to add on that here.
I
That was a
agree.
great point here.
I agree. And speaking of which,
Yeah.
I was actually talking to somebody else who told me that that helps him as well.
Wow.
Because now getting to, he's not a reading personally, reading
Yes.
person.
Yeah.
And even like I was trying to challenge him to
try and read,
reading,
yes.
and embody this reading culture.
Yeah.
It was a toll on him, but he eventually he managed. But either way, he was telling me that when he watches movies, even
Yes.
if they are not these self-improving movies,
Yeah.
then he gets to learn more from that, because he gets to learn more from the characters.
Wow.
But now the problem with that, because he was telling me that over time it came to a point where he now wants to embody those characters in the movies,
in the
now
movie.
get the traits of them and now try them in the real life, and that is just
might not probably be the best.
yes,
Yeah.
for sure, in the long run.
Yeah. That really makes sense.
But I'm just thinking, do you like prefer physical books or online?
For me, from experience and from evidence, I don't know. I think with time maybe I will evolve, but for me, as of now, I prefer physical books. I prefer physical books. I think for you, I know you prefer online stuff, online books, online like gold, everything that you can do
on the go.
Yeah. For me, the reason as to why I prefer physical books is because I've tried having this reading culture before and with intentionality still. But the problem is when I would I would download a book and then start reading, but staying consistent to reading it on my phone was not like possible or easy. But I realized I tried that last year, and one of my goals was actually now reading a book every month. I ended up in December having downloaded a number of books. I would say sometimes I would read halfway, and I would pick up some lessons from just that online book. But last year, at the end of December, I was gifted this book and by a friend, and it was a hard copy book. For the first time in a long time, I completed reading the book, and for a long while, I've always wanted to have the physical books. And now for me, seeing that with a physical book, I'm that kind of person when I'm reading and then I feel like there's so much going on in my mind. I like to scribble down. So for the online book, the biggest thing I can do is maybe to highlight, because even if I'm adding notes, I don't feel the effect that I want.
Yeah, you need to write your
I need to
down.
write my thoughts down. So like for the physical book, I read it, and the places that I resonate with. And when I scribble down, I feel like I have understood, and putting in practice becomes easier.
Yeah.
So that's why I prefer physical books, and that's what I'm doing. Like monthly, I just get a new physical book. I know at the end of it all, you'd find. I think I now understand why people end up having shelves of books, and you're like,
Yeah.
why were you buying all this? But it's because they accumulate them over time. But I don't mind. I actually prefer that. Why
Okay, good.
why do you like online? Because for me, I know everything for you is online, not only books.
Me,
So many other
I
things.
just want to be doing my things on the go. I don't want to be uh okay, like now reading specifically.
Yeah.
In Kenya, you couldn't read maybe. Okay, there are some people who could read in a matatu. But
Yeah.
here, well, definitely here
Oh
it's a bit easier to
yeah.
read
You
maybe
know,
when you're
in Kenya, it's
traveling.
very, people will look at you, but
Yeah.
it's a weird culture when you get into a matatu and then you
And
start
you start
reading.
reading. It
It's
is
not
okay,
well
but it's
welcomed.
not like it's
Unless,
okay, but it's not in us because of the society and the culture that we are in.
but Edda, it's okay, but how many people will
I know.
look at you? It's like you're misplaced. Maybe if you're in those, maybe those matatus going to Lavington and the likes,
But
but
it's okay.
it is okay.
Do what makes you happy. Do what makes you happy.
Okay.
So
Oh,
yeah, so and most of the time that maybe I am free is maybe when I'm
when
traveling.
oh
So I
yeah,
used to read online when I'm mostly traveling.
okay.
But here I came and so that people can actually be standing in the metro or in the bus and they are still reading.
And the bus
And
stop,
it's
they're
okay.
still yeah, it's okay.
It's okay because that culture has been in
There
them.
for a long time.
Yes. Yeah, so I prefer online, number one. And then number two, because now me writing on that book, I feel
Yes.
like once I write on that book,
Yeah.
I tried also before I now decided settled
online.
on I'm just an online person. I had tried the
Wow.
physical one. So I tried, but writing on that book, I felt like it was remaining there. I was
It was not getting into
yeah.
wow.
So I prefer writing on the other, like maybe on a notebook.
Oh,
when
somewhere
I'm reading.
different.
Yes. Or now if I'm doing my notes, I just leave the reading app and then I go to maybe wherever my notes. I write my notes, then come back. Then I will go back to my notes later
No,
on.
I wanted to ask that question. Do you go back to your notes? It's because
Yes.
like how people screenshot stuff. You
So many
screenshot
of
and then
them.
you never go to the screenshots probably.
But actually, what I'm doing recently,
Yeah.
I started this culture where I have somebody that we are also reading together. So we have like a book that we are reading.
Wow.
And every week we meet to have a conversation. What were your takeaways? What were my takeaways? Then
The same book.
The same book.
That's
So
really
it
nice.
means that in every, well, it is a bit slower because we read like one chapter a whole
week.
It's a bit slower, but it is worth
It is worth it.
Yes.
And then also at least you can pick authentic points and whatever they are. That's really nice.
Maybe I missed out, so I tell you whatever maybe you could have missed, and then maybe you missed out on something. Like we get to learn from each other.
I think I also have such a situation, but this one it's totally different, and it's not even like a specific. It was expressly said like you can be an accountability person, but I feel like it's just the implied reading accountability partner, because sometimes maybe I know the book I want to read next time and I would send and say this is what I want to read next time, and it really hits me differently when I was supposed to get the book for February and my implied accountability partner sent me a book he has already got for February, and I was like, I've not even gotten a book yet. I'm still trying to really get into to understand some of the concepts of this book I've been reading in January. So I think it's a good thing. Like it just keeps you on track. Yeah. And wow, I think I will try that. I've never tried that in-depth accountability with someone. Yeah.
And then it also keeps you on toes. Sometimes you just don't feel like reading.
Yeah, but if you know you have to answer to someone,
Then
you have to read.
Then you have to.
Which is a very good thing. And I don't know, other than books, I've also found what are they called? Like things like on YouTube videos, very, very important when it comes to my intellectual growth. YouTube videos, generally technology.
Yes.
Maybe apps. Not recently, let me say from September last year, I started using this gratitude app, and I feel like it is very key in my intellectual growth, because as much as it's just a gratitude app, but it helps me to release my thoughts, because it's like journaling, daily journal, and it gives you prompts, and from these prompts you can now be creative, and whatever you don't understand, you can actually go and now decide to learn.